1. This is about the time the norovirus tried to wipe out our entire household in under an hour. It started with our daughter getting sick first. She was so tiny and dehydrated we had to rush her to the ER for fluids. While we were sitting there watching her slowly come back to life with an IV, my husband and I kept glancing at each other with that quiet, unspoken panic like, "Do you feel okay?" Which of course was immediately followed by both of us trying to gaslight ourselves into believing it was just sympathy nausea. Totally fine, we're fine, this is fine. But then, in what I now recognize as the dumbest moment of overconfidence in our marriage, we decided to ask the ER doctor if they could maybe give us a little something to just, in case we started feeling bad. I said it as casually as possible, like I was asking for ketchup packets. The doctor laughed, like actually laughed. Not a polite chuckle, but a full, "Ha! No." Like we'd asked for shots of Fireball to go. So we took our daughter and left, still trying to pretend we weren't both already descending into gastrointestinal hell. When we got to the car, I buckled our little biohazard angel into her car seat. My husband got into the driver's seat, gripped the wheel, and just froze. I asked him if he was okay, and he muttered something like, Yeah, I'm fine," with the wide-eyed expression of a man who was absolutely not fine. Then, without warning, he leaned out of the open door and violently erupted onto the ER parking lot pavement, like full body heaving, leaving the soul body levels of vomit. It wasn't cute, it wasn't discreet, it was The Exorcist, except in front of God, security cameras, and probably a couple of nurses on their smoke break. When it was, he wiped his mouth, stared straight ahead with dead eyes, and said with the grave seriousness of a man who's accepted his fate, "We're going home." So now he's driving us the 3 minutes home like a war veteran returning from the front lines, windows down, hands gripping the wheel, the car thick with tension and the faint smell of Gatorade and regret, while I sat there next to him clutching the diaper bag and silently praying my own stomach wouldn't betray me before we made it back. We got home. I threw our tiny agent of chaos into her crib like a football and heard my husband immediately disappear into the downstairs bathroom, where he started making noises so horrific I'm convinced they permanently damaged our pipes. Meanwhile, upstairs, I started to feel the telltale rumblings in my stomach, and in my infinite wisdom, I thought a hot shower might fix it, because water cures everything, right? Spoiler, it absolutely did not. I quickly became a human slip and slide of regret, slipping between the toilet and shower in a loop of agony, crying, sweating, and praying for the sweet release of death while my body attempted to evacuate itself from every available orifice. At some point, my husband, the pale, sweaty, and barely upright shell of a man he was, crawled upstairs like a zombie from The Walking Dead, and peeked into the bathroom to check on me. I tried to say, "I'm okay," but instead my body betrayed me completely, and I unleashed a cinematic wave of projectile vomit in the shower, like I was auditioning for The Exorcist reboot. In that moment, I knew we were both done for. In a last act of desperation, I grabbed my phone with trembling, vomit-streaked hands and posted in my neighborhood Facebook group, asking if anyone at all, had nausea meds they could spare before this house officially became a CDC case study. Bless one angel of a neighbor who replied immediately with, "I have some Zofran, I'll hang it on the doorknob for you." So somehow I dragged myself to her house, like a feral raccoon, puked in her yard. "I'm so sorry if you find this, I couldn't exactly leave a note." Grabbed the meds and drove back home. I threw a packet at my husband like I was passing him a live grenade in an action movie, took one for myself, and then collapsed, naked and wet in the shower like a sad, forgotten rotisserie chicken. The moral of your story, if your kid ever gets norovirus, don't even try to be strong. Just burn your house down, fake your death, and start over. 2. This story takes place roughly 10 years ago while I was in college. I liked to run a few times a week on this great path around 2 lakes. It was a very popular area for walking, running, rollerblading, etc. The route is about 5.5 miles, and I had ran it with no issues for months at this point, starting in winter. It is important to point out that hot weather and I do not get along. I overheat easily and get sluggish. I much prefer winter and cold weather. On this beautiful Sunday, it was going to be a scorcher, so I planned on getting my run in early in the morning before it got too hot. I can't remember any more what delayed me, but instead of running at 7:30 a.m., I didn't get out until 10 a.m. I figured I would be fine since I was in good shape and it only takes about 45 minutes to run the route. I pop my headphones in, make sure my iPod is secured in my runner's fanny pack, don't knock it till you try it, and started a casual jog. My normal run goes like this. Mile 1, hate life. Why the hell do I run downhill? Mile 2, okay, starting to get warmed up now, this isn't too bad. Miles 3 and on, life is good. I love running. Well, on this fateful day, I really struggled on mile 1. I was sweating bullets and breathing heavily, which is not normal. Tried to power through it though, big mistake, and got another half mile when the crap hit the fan. All of a sudden my vision started getting blurry and things were getting dark, and I thought, yeah, this is not good, pal, get off the path. Don't let people see whatever is about to happen, go towards the water. So I stumble off the pavement and end up passing out about 6 feet from the edge of the lake. You might be thinking, why the hell would you go towards the water and not away from it? To that I say, logic goes out the window in these moments. I couldn't have been out more than a few seconds, so I lay there for a few minutes cooling down and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I have a decision to make. Either I keep going and power through the remaining 4 miles, or I jog back the way I came to my car. I decide to jog back to my car, mistake number 2. I made it maybe 45 seconds of jogging before I passed out again. I'm sure someone had to have witnessed this Jenga tower of poor decisions, but thankfully I never noticed any witnesses. After waking up again, I decided I should walk back to my car instead of jogging. After a few minutes again of cooling down, I started the walk of shame back to my car. Anyone walking towards me at this point would see the sweat pouring off me and probably think, damn, that guy must have ran the whole lakes. Nope. I was shaking and trying not to vomit. Let me tell you, there is a big difference in time between jogging 1.5 miles and walking 1.5 miles. That walk back took forever, and I left what little pride I had on that grassy area near the water. 3. For the last 2 bloody years, I've been going into the office 3 days a week. Each of those days started with me stepping into an elevator to the 14th floor, and ended with me coming off the elevator at the 1st floor. In between there are countless times where I'd use the elevator for lunch or whatever occasion I needed to step out for. Without fail, every time I've ever been in this elevator alone. I do some goofy things because it's my own personal space. Sometimes I'd dance to whatever song is playing in my earbuds. If it's Lil Wayne, I'd be throwing money gestures. If it's Benson Boone, I'd do an air guitar and sing out loud. Imagine the high note of please in Beautiful Things. 2 years I've been doing goofy stuff like this, including throwing it back and catching myself doing it and laughing out loud saying, bruh, I'm actually stupid AF. Today I walked towards the elevators like usual, and I found myself alone in it once again. So I looked at the elevator's mirror and started posing like I'm in a bodybuilding contest. Started yelling out, look at you, yeah, big man on the scene, yeah, oh switch, yeah, the muscle, yeah, the definition. Then the elevator doors opened, so I gave myself the finger guns in the mirror as I regained my composure before I conducted myself professionally as I walked into the office. I know you're already judging. I would never do this in public, but genuinely speaking, these little moments brighten up my day sometimes because I get to act a fool. I live my day-to-day life pretty restrained, and this is one way for me to ease up the tension a bit. Outside of that elevator, I swear to God you would never expect this from me. I'm so stuck up at work and know the corporate lingo to a fault. I'm the guy who talks about action items, meeting agendas, and product life cycles. I greet everyone with a good morning and a have a wonderful night, including security. Well, today as I left the office a bit earlier than usual, the security clerk spotted me walking towards the exit from a distance. And I kid you not, he yelled out word for word, "Bruh, big man on campus." The way my face flushed, I said, "Pardon me?" He said, "Oh, sorry, I was talking to my colleague." "Oh, have a good night." Gives me finger guns. Bruh. They can fire my butt, I don't care. I'm never working from office again until he retires at least. 4. So I'm a 29-year-old woman, and I've been staying with my ex-boyfriend Dan, 29 male, with my daughter Molly, 6 and female, since we heard he had a heart attack. Dan and I had mutually broken up 2 years ago when I had to move to Boston for a job. But over the last year we lost touch until I found out he had a heart attack, and Molly was very upset as Dan is basically the only father she really knew. So we came to visit a few weeks back, and then we got to talking, and he invited us to stay over the summer before he had his surgery. Things have been going very well, but he's very self-conscious about how messy parts of the house got since his heart attack. He's not in the best health, as he gets winded very easily now. So this morning I offered to clean up parts of the house while he and Molly went to the beach with his mother. Now the cleaning was going well, until I came across what looked like action figures on his desk. But they were surrounded with junk on his desk, so I quickly moved them off and onto his bed while I got to cleaning. I was a bit confused why he had toys, since when we were dating he wasn't really much of a toy guy. He mainly liked reading and writing. But the main issue started when I got a phone call and, without really thinking, sat on his bed and heard a loud crunch. I looked and found 2 of the 3 figures broken. I figured I could just order him some new ones or something, so I texted him asking about the toys. He laughed and said they weren't toys, that he was doing some sculpting in his free time, and that they were acting sculptures he was doing. So obviously I panicked. Here I was trying to clean up his room for him to keep his stress levels down, and now I just broke 2 art pieces he was working on. So I called his best friend Dave, who I blame for all this, cause he got Dan into art, and asked him how to fix this. Dave laughed at me a bit and came over with some of his art supplies. He basically glued them back together and did some artsy thing to cover up the signs of breakage. But when Dan came home, he noticed something had happened because the 3rd figure, the one I thought was okay, face broke off. To my surprise, he wasn't upset, but I feel horrible that I broke them. 5. This was back in the beginning of May. I am posting in July of 2025, so without further ado. Today I messed up by throwing up in my boyfriend's grandmother's bathroom. To start this off, I'll say my boyfriend, 20, and I, female, 19, have been dating for 3 or 4 months at this time. He's always been super patient and understanding with any sort of issues I've had medically. I have orthostatic hypotension, basically POTS but different, as well as my antidepressants messing with my stomach when not taken with food. Yes, both of those are important to know for this. We had left my house in the suburbs of Chicago around noon the previous day, having woken up late and made the 5.5-hour drive to his grandma's house in Ohio. Now, I always take my meds in the morning. However, I had been so focused while leaving on getting everything in the car, and not forgetting anything in the process, that I had forgotten to not only eat, but also take them. Missing them for 1 day will not significantly impact my mood, seeing as they build over time in my system, so emotionally, I was fine, and didn't even notice. We eventually got to the house and settled into the guest room, went out for pizza with his grandma, and fell asleep knowing we had some things planned for the following night at one of his friends' houses. However, at about 5:30 in the morning, I shot up in a panic, realizing I never took my meds the previous day. I tried to lay down and wait for my boyfriend to wake so we could get food and I could take them, but he sleeps till noon, if given the option. So after laying there debating for a while, I took them at about 8:30 a.m. Did I know I would need food in the next half hour before I felt disgusting? Yes. Did I still have some insane belief that it would be fine? Absolutely. And well, my friends, it only took half an hour to begin to feel a little nauseous. As the feeling sets in, I turned to my boyfriend and tried best to wake him, Now, he's a very light sleeper, but he's also very exhausted when waking up and falls back asleep in an instant if I don't physically get him out of bed. Long story short, we didn't end up loading into the car till 9:45 to get food for me, because nothing in the house sounded appealing at the moment. Eventually, we are able to get to Starbucks drive-thru, about 10 minutes away. I am practically sweating through my clothes at this point and staring out the window, keeping my mouth shut, trying not to make a mess in his car. He hands me a chocolate croissant and my coffee, and the feeling only gets worse. I tell him to drive back to the house as fast as he can without getting us pulled over, and he does. Meanwhile, I'm gripping my seat and door like it's gonna magically stop me from feeling like everything I haven't eaten in the last 12 hours is coming back up. Meanwhile, my boyfriend is in the driver's seat trying his best to console me. When we finally get to his grandma's house, once again I lay down in the bathroom and stare at the ceiling, trying to keep the world from spinning. He sets my coffee in the fridge, knowing I probably won't drink it for a while, and runs his fingers through my hair, trying to get me back to normal. That only works for about 10 minutes before I shoot up out of the bed and in the bathroom. My hand is over my mouth, trying to keep everything in till I can reach the toilet, but I fall short about 3 feet. I end up dropping to my knees and crawling to the toilet, gripping the edges and praying for it to be over. Now, some of you might be wondering, why isn't he helping you? Where's him pulling your hair out of your face? And you would be correct. He stayed in the bedroom because he knows if he helps me, he will be in even worse shape than me, and no one wants that. I'm in there for about 15 minutes before my boyfriend texts me asking if he should come help and risk it, and I told him not to, since I didn't want him to throw up as well. However, about 30 seconds after sending that text, a final large wave of nausea came, and I threw up everything left in my body. My abs felt like they were on fire, and my stomach was squeezing in on itself so hard. I crapped. Yes, that's right. I crapped myself while throwing up in his grandmother's bathroom, while sobbing and trying to wipe up the parts that missed the toilet. Even worse, his grandma had removable little carpet pieces in the bathroom, covering the majority of the tile. Not only was there now vomit in that, but also a large crap stain from the liquid, yes, liquid, that had just shot out of my butt. I kinda just sat there quietly for a minute, trying to contemplate what was happening, but I ended up just taking the pants and underwear all the way off and setting it to the side before curling up in the corner and texting my boyfriend to come help, because I had no idea what to do. Luckily, he's a trooper, and he sprung into action, washing my pants and bringing me toiletries so I could shower. I hop in the shower, and immediately my heart starts beating uncontrollably fast, to the point where I thought I was going to die. I end up collapsing in the shower because of the heat and almost passing out because my orthostatic hypotension tends to make me dizzy and lightheaded when in extreme heat. And I, unfortunately, like to basically boil myself in my showers. So obviously that didn't quite end up making things any better. I end up taking a whole 2 hours trying to get back into the bedroom, and from there on, my boyfriend would not stop talking about it and making jokes. We did end up going to our plans later that night, but not until after he made me get a smoothie down and telling all his friends about the story. Also, now his grandma now thinks I have severe bowel issues, of which she would not stop checking in on the entire trip, which was even more embarrassing. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Embarrassing Stories, episode 125. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. Before you go, please do hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by signing up for my Patreon page. There's a link to that in the description. $1 or more a month will get you early access to all the videos on Monday at once. We also have a link to my merchandise store on Teespring. Okay, let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. We'll keep this one simple. Something that supermarkets do that quite annoys you. I can answer this one easily. Like the bigger supermarkets locally, like Morrison's and Tesco. Yeah, that's right, girls, I'm calling you both out. They do a thing that, quite frankly, it irritates me. They'll have a sign on their shelves saying, "Hey, look, Aldi price match." And I'm thinking, yeah, great, but you wouldn't need to do that if you didn't overcharge for literally everything in the store. How do I know you're overcharging? Because these companies continually report year after year, although what they claim is the cost of goods has gone up, so they then have to pass the cost on to the consumer, they claim record profits. Not earnings, profits. Besides, when I see those signs, all that tells me is I should go to Aldi and or Lidl, which I do. What they should be doing is keeping the prices down to a reasonable level. Like, for example, I wouldn't even buy a packet of biscuits out of Morrison's anymore, unless it's a major special offer. And for most of those, you need to have their super special store card to get them now anyway. But I think everywhere does that, which is stupid and frustrating. Anyway, let me know what you think in a comment below. I could go on and on. And before we go, let's take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. This came from Embarrassing Stories 124, and it was about things you buy regularly, but you just don't pay full price for. And today's answer comes from, let me take a look here. Fluffy Laser Wolf. Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Yes, I'm the same. I love it, but I never pay full price for it. Same with Ben & Jerry's. I only buy when it's on offer. Pralines and cream must be my favorite, maybe. I think I've had that one. It's nice. I really like their salted caramel. And they do a strawberry cheesecake that is quite nice in a pinch, but I really love the caramel one. The chocolate, I mean, well, let's be honest, all their ice creams are nice, but I tend to go to the salted caramel when I can find it. Although the other day I did try, well, thank you for your answer. The other day I did try, because I'm being a bit more calorie conscious now, I've been avoiding things like ice cream. Not to say I'm not still indulging, but I've been avoiding things that are super unhealthy. Because the low-calorie ice creams, while they are nice, like Halo Top, Breyers, they're both really nice. They're just very expensive. Because it's more of a niche market, I guess. Although, interestingly, diet sodas tend to be cheaper than the regular ones. Anyway, probably something to do with the sugar tax in the UK. But I found in Aldi the other day, as I was heading home from a dermatologist appointment, I went into Aldi. I don't usually do it because it's a bit more out of the way. And I discovered they actually sell a very reasonably priced low-calorie ice cream, and it's very nice. They also had a salted caramel one. Now, it's not like the Haagen-Dazs one, where there's a lovely thick caramel swirl through it, but it was still quite nice. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.